And we are live. Welcome to Kauffman Writes, the first creative writing stream on the internet for inspiration, motivation, strategy, discussion, advice, and maybe a little procrastination. But don't worry, I won't tell anyone. And today is a normal episode of Kauffman Writes. We're going to be starting off with a writing sprint, 20 minutes. And then if you stick around after the writing sprint, we're going to be going over some common tips, advice, things just to help you out as a writer and common problems that I've seen writers deal with. So that'll be the time to ask any questions and join in on the conversation. Thank you for joining me. Today's stream is going to be super smooth. So I'm going to start off. We'll be doing 2 writing sprints today. I'm going to throw up the banner for writing sprint number 1. All right. And if you're just hopping into the stream, feel free to join me on the writing sprint. Or you can kick back, relax, and read along as all right vicariously for the both of us. Hey, welcome to the stream, Marta. Welcome. Beating that sleep and beating insomnia. Welcome to the stream, my friend. Hopefully your writing journey is treating you well today. All right, and I'm going to throw up. All right, and let's cue up the music. Weird. It doesn't look like it doesn't. You know what? I've figured it out. I turned down the volume. I'm like, how come I can't hear the music, Kauffman? Oh, it's because I turned the volume down on the internet. Oh, silly me. Alright, let's give me just a second as I get the music up. I know you can hear it, but it makes a difference if I can hear it as well. Alright, here we go. Perfect. That's on me. Alright, I got 20 minutes on the clock. I'm ready for a writing sprint. And that's right. Welcome to the stream, John. Thanks for stopping by, my man. We're just starting off with a writing sprint today. Hey, welcome, Atomic. Welcome, my friend. Hey, John, welcome to the stream. John Deeds. I'm doing good. Actually, I had a pretty crucial part in the story right now. Thanks for hanging out, my man. That brings us to the end of that sprint. There we go. Perfect. So, end of writing sprint number 1. I'm realizing as I'm getting into my storytelling and especially this scene, which the scene's, I think, what, 68 to 70% of the way through the novel. It's kind of a big scene. I've been doing a lot of lead up to this scene in particular. Quill hasn't been touched upon as a character since a long time. So unless you've been sticking with me since the beginning, they have to resurrect or find a way to bring this quilt, just kind of like a flying carpet, back to life because it was told to them that the quilt is the only one who knows how to access whatever ability they need to defeat the demon and stop the nothingness. So, this is the first time I think we're going to be playing around with a little bit of magical energy with the hags. So, I might be trying a couple of different things. I'm kind of feeling out. I know how I want the ritual, how I want this ritual to end. Playing around with a couple different ways of like, how do I want the ritual to go? Especially as I get to explore their ability. So that's all for me. I'll be back with we'll do another writing sprint shortly. Oh yeah, let me throw up a timer. Let's see. Timer. Let's take a break. All right, there we go. Okay, so with that one, let's hop into how do you be a better writer? And I'll throw up here. So today's super casual, super easy. How do you what are ways, what are tips, or what are things as I was thinking through to help you become a better writer in your journey? What are some things that you struggle with? There's some best practices that come to mind. Break. Oh yes, break from the writing sprint before we hop into another writing sprint. Not to sleep. There you go. Who doesn't, if you're a true writer, who actually needs sleep? We'll sleep later on in life. Then you just make more time to write. Absolutely excellent idea. As I think about ways that have worked for me in improving my writing capability, of course, I always like to iterate, have fun with the process. Even today, I'm not feeling super creative and I'm not feeling very like highly energized for storytelling. But regardless, I'm still able to reframe my mind because I love The Last Scarecrow. I've been dealing with a lot of business stuff today. So sometimes when I like get to my stream at this time of the day, I'm like, okay, I have to like reorient my mind and kind of reset myself to be able to get to that creative place. Now, sometimes it's more difficult if you're dealing with like a lot of emotional turmoil, if you're dealing with like life responsibilities or craziness, bills, family, trauma, etc. And the challenge that you're faced with is how do you reset your mindset to get yourself back to that place of fun because you enjoy the story. You wouldn't have started the storytelling process or the writing process if you didn't enjoy it. So it's trying to you're basically trying to your mind's in one place and you have to remind yourself, why do I enjoy the story? Now for me, I am just lucky that I'm actually in a scene that I've been like working towards for a while. So I can kind of like my gears are kind of turning. I'm like, okay, I know what I want to get to. And I did think the quilt was a fun character. So I've been excited to see Quilt brought back to life. I like to write when the creative wave hits. I'm not surprised to hear that, John. A lot of times with writers, we like to rely on inspiration of the moment, right? And it actually works out when we have either a lifestyle or when we happen to not be like busy with work and we can actually like sit down and be like, yeah, I'm inspired. I'm just watching this TV show or this YouTube or whatever. And I'm like, inspiration strikes. Let's write. That's actually very common. And That used to be one of my strategies when I was working more of a, like a structured 9 to 5 job, because then like if inspiration struck when I was like working, I couldn't do anything about it. But on my break, you can bet I was definitely writing. Let's see, John. My struggles. I need to write more. I need to learn how to spell again. Be more patient when I edit. I need to read more. Those are all really common struggles. Writing more. We all want to write more. I think John, my I need to learn how to spell again. Be more patient when I edit. Need to read more. Those are all really great opportunities. I think we can actually all benefit from wanting to read more. With writing more, something that actually will make life so much easier for you is set like clear goals. Set a clear goal with what does writing more look like? And base it off your lifestyle, John. Like if you work 40 hours a week, or maybe you're a student, regardless of what you're doing, be realistic with how much time you actually have to write a week. Set a minimum goal. Even if you're like, yeah, I only have like an hour to write a week because I'm super busy. I'm going to split that hour into 2 30-minute writing sprints twice a week. Now, obviously, you want to write more than that. But if you set like a clear goal for yourself and you achieve the bare minimum, you can always do more. You'll make it so much easier and you'll feel less failure week by week. I think a lot of times we try to set high goals for ourselves because we're excited about our story. We want to get to the end. We want to get it published. We want to make money. We want to do the things. But then we kind of lose ourselves in the process. Let's see, Marta. You know that when you don't sleep 2 nights in a row, I do not recommend it. It's very unhealthy, but then you get lots of crazy ideas. I've definitely been there when I've had delirious sleep sleep sprints. You know that moment when you're just like no sleep and you feel a little crazy, but you're getting some like the best ideas. That's definitely happened to me before. Hey, welcome to the stream, Steph. Thanks for stopping by. We're actually just chatting about writing like tips and problems. What are some like writing problems that you deal with? Let's see. Mamitelli, for beginners, I suggest multiple resources for writing guidelines, libraries, books, YouTube videos, etc. Absolutely. I think in the day and age of technology, right, it's so important to have different sources of information, right? You should obviously, like, I'm happy that you guys are here and joining the community. But beyond me, you should also be checking out like books. You should be checking out articles. Um, and it's easy things that you can do on like your breaks, or it's easy things you can do in your downtime. You can go find a really great book about improving your writing. Go watch other influencers who talk about writing, or watch television shows or movies that you like. But then after you've enjoyed it, ask yourself, what was the problem with the script? What was the problem with the movie? And like have a specific conversation with yourself, because then you're actually learning and you're teaching yourself to think critically from something that you're already doing. That's always something fun I like to do. Let's see. Atomic eliminate distractions. Absolutely. If you have urgent or important things that still intrude, try scheduling yourself a specific, very limited time to write. Yeah. That's always the doozy, right? In the age of the internet and social media, it's like, how do we eliminate all the noise, all the clutter when life is just crazy? It's so easy to sit down and write, and then suddenly, like, you're checking your notifications, you're checking like what's going on online. And I think that's actually why writing sprints are such an effective strategy. That's one of the reasons that I've adapted my writing style, at least for these live streams, to do more of a writing sprint style, because like, don't get distracted. 20 minutes, like you can literally write for 20 minutes. I believe in you. Make it even shorter if you're struggling, but for that 20 minutes, like put the phone down, just focus on it. And if it's garbage, write whatever comes to you, whether it's amazing or whether it's horrible. Write what comes. Let's see. Over 27 tons of Marta, I have to like highlight this. You read over 277 tons of mangas during 1 year. That's incredible. Like, that's so much learning. And I think it's great to absolutely balance out what you're reading, because when you're reading, you're learning, right? Even if you're reading your favorite books, you're reading how different authors do different styles, how they use different words. You're learning about different sentence structure. You're learning about different ways of storytelling. Now, I always recommend to at least be reading a novel that's in the genre that you want to write, because it helps give you ideas and it helps give you ways that potentially best-selling novel or authors who are doing it well write, and it's socially accepted, and it's clearly readers like it one way, shape, or form. Yeah, mommy Tyler, that's actually a problem that a lot of writers deal with. The A lot of writers end up having so many different projects, and my guess is it's a mix of two things. One, we get inspired by different things, so we want to start telling different stories. The other thing is we get into parts of our storytelling where it gets difficult or it gets hard, and they're like, well, this isn't fun anymore, so I'm going to hop over to another story. I like totally get that. I think I probably have over 50 plus stories in my back catalog with only probably X amount are actually like completed and ready to go, but I totally understand that. Oh my goodness. John, that's your trip is hilarious, by the way. I think when you're using certain substances, I'm sure that can give you different ways of thinking. Absolutely. Let's see. And this is actually another good call out, right? You're a person that loves to meet new interesting people, maybe focusing on the features you like. And this is actually one of the reasons why I think writers groups are phenomenal, right? Whether it's an online community or one in your area, you're meeting other types of writers. Like, go on to Meetup, look for writers groups, literally Google writers groups in my areas. I guarantee you there's probably 5 writers groups in your areas. If you live near or close to any city, there's usually a good deal of writers groups to choose from. Always a great one. John, that's actually a really great strategy, by the way. If you're ever engaging in like social media, using, and let's say like not you, John, but like specifically like if you're struggling as a writer, literally just responding to like things that you see on like Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, whatever your social media is of choice, and responding to it and being like, how can I write this, even though it's like a couple sentences, how can I write this and make it say something interesting, say something new, and use this as kind of a writing exercise. I actually do that all the time on through Facebook when I'm connecting with creative writers. Great minds think alike, John. I appreciate that. That's it. Someone said, it's a good quote. Somebody said, the way to have great ideas is to have lots of ideas. Never count an idea out. It's my like advice. That's my like word of wisdom for the day. Never count any idea out. I don't care if you think this idea is garbage. I don't care if you think it's like, whether it's brilliant, whether it's garbage, write everything down. Um, do it on your notes app. Either keep a notebook on you at all times or just use like notes app on your phone. Have a list of all your ideas, whether it's for the main story you're working on or for other things, because you don't know that the worst idea, you might read it in a couple of days and then read it and you're like, wait, that gives me a better idea for something else. I'm a believer of never delete work, save stuff, save ideas, because that can lead to other amazing things. Ooh, Mommy Tully, that's amazing. My latest short story is now 3 chapters long. Absolutely amazing. Continue up the writing journey, my friend. That's awesome. Awesome, awesome. And that always puts you further ahead than a lot of writers who are sometimes even afraid just to get started. That's incredible. Let's see. The only problem I have is I get easily distracted by things around me, but I still get at least an hour or 2 of writing or editing done a day. Yeah, and I mean, I think it's a little different, Stephanie, for yourself because you have a very high writing consistency as well. Um, from what you've shared previously, like the amount of words that you're doing and the amount of pages that you're doing per day is at a much higher rate. So when you're writing for really long periods of time, so let's say like you're writing for hours on time, the recommendation or like my advice would be a little different, right? I think what was the saying? I was listening to someone somewhere that in terms of workflow and work effort, you're going to get your best work done if you do like your work back to back. I think it's like in a 3 to 4 hour interval. So if you're going to if you're going to do like a long writing session, I would say maybe plan like a 2 to 3 hour writing session. Either do like a short break in between or allow yourself to do a break after. Sometimes putting yourself in like working other coffee shops is a great idea. I'm absolutely all a fan for doing long writing sprints, but the live stream format I don't think actually ever works for doing a long writing sprint. But there's definitely been times on with Last Scarecrow where I start off as like a 20 or 30 minute writing sprint, and then I was on here for like an hour and a half writing. Sometimes we have really good days. Sometimes we have really great writing sprints. And like when you're in it and assuming that you have the time, keep going. One of the best moments when writing your story is when you didn't know what section you're about to hop into. You start writing and then it starts flowing and you just kind of hit this natural flow state with your writing. And then you finish and you just feel so accomplished over the thing that you just written. I think that's one of like the absolute most incredible feelings as a writer because it's the true creation and ideation that's true to you, the thing that you love, and the thing that's authentic at work. I love when that comes to life. Let's see. Marta, that's actually it's a good call out. So sad comment, but my poetry book I'm going to publish next week is inspired by experiences and suffering mostly. Well, first off, sorry that you had to experience that suffering. I can empathize with that. Of course, we don't want to experience suffering. At the same time, when we do, the fact that you're able to speak to it and then turn it into a story shows your courage and bravery combined with your creativity and authenticity to be able to put it out and then share it with the world. I think for people, a lot of times, like writers end up experiencing like a lot of writers who've experienced a lot of either heartbreak or trauma or negative experiences can then turn those experiences into really powerful stories because they understand what it was like to experience it from a physical level, from an emotional level, and from a spiritual level. Now, that's not to say writers who don't experience true pain like can't write about it. Of course they can, but I think it gives writers who have experienced things a deeper level and an easier way to be able to share that experience. It's very common when writers who've experienced some kind of trauma are once they've processed it, or maybe they start writing the story as a way of processing it. Writing is an extremely therapeutic experience. And if there's ever anything that you're like struggling with in your past, I always think a good place to start is just writing about it. And this is actually pro tip right here. If there's something that you've struggled a lot with, first off, not a mental health professional. I have some training in the workplace. My ultimate recommendation is speak to a therapist, but a writing exercise that works. If you're dealing with the type of trauma, write it down. Write down whatever happened, what you're feeling, the things. And then once you're done with it, take the piece of paper out. And this assuming do it on a piece of paper. Go outside, somewhere safe, of course, and then burn it. If watching it, writing something, and then physically watching it burn actually is very therapeutic because it's a physical way of letting go of that specific emotion that you're struggling with in that moment. So just pro little writing exercise tip that's worked very well for me before. Uh, that's always a really good way of sharing with psychologists. That's a really good way. I talk about with my therapist literally all the time with some of my writing that I'm working on. And then she's like, so tell me, so how does that relate to this experience? And I'm like, you're right. Oh man. Let's see, writing is my outlet now, where it used to be pain pills. John, I just want to like commend you so much because that's such a journey and to be able to share that and have gone through that, like such respect for that, my man. I'm really, really glad that writing has proven to be a successful, positive outlet for you. It's incredible. And you're a great writer too. Your storytelling is pretty funny, pretty entertaining. Believability and relatability depends on empathy. Great for characterization. It absolutely is. It is, isn't it? Believability and relatability. Yeah, because if you think about it, we want to read characters that we can. When I think about a story, when I think about the average reader, I want to rely on the words to activate my imagination so that way I can experience it and I can put myself in the shoes of the protagonist or in the shoes of some part of the story, so then I can share in the emotional journey with the character and with the hero. I think that's always why characters, and this is why actually why we have such a fascination left for anti-heroes or even villains, because we want to experience the power trip, the power journey. Why do people love Darth Vader? Right? Because he's a badass, he's the lightsaber, he's very iconic character. So we want to experience that power trip, but then being able to relate with somebody who's gone through an extreme amount of suffering. We empathize with that, and he is redeemable. Absolutely, 100%. I've always been very high with I've always been a high empath, so I think that's probably another reason that writings come very, very naturally to me. Absolutely. Oh, that actually I did the same exact thing, Marta. Not with my mom, but this was some in some of my early relationships, like really early, back in long time ago. When I was like unable to really express my emotion. There's like some like heavy stuff that we needed to talk about. And I had this problem where I would just freeze up in the middle of the conversation. Like I would freeze up. Like it's not that I didn't like care. I just like wasn't good at like thinking in the moment. I was too defensive, a lot of immaturity and social. But something that helped me was writing out the things that I wanted to say and things that I wanted to talk about. And it actually helped make the conversations more impactful and actually allow us to get to a better place at that point in my life. So I absolutely agree. And like the thing that sucks, or the struggle with like difficult conversations, whether it's with a partner, with family, with siblings, children, you name it, is going into the conversation sucks, makes it challenging, makes it emotional turmoil. Unless you're the type of person who's great with conflict and great with conflict resolution, most of us fear it because it involves a risk of putting ourselves out in a vulnerable state. But there's almost always a catharsis, unless this has been like a repeat conversation time and time again. It's as most difficult conversations, it always feels better after the fact, assuming that your expectations were met and a resolution was followed up. Oh yeah, I've definitely been through more than my share of relationships, so I definitely can relate with that. And Mommy Telly, I know, like, especially as I've been connecting with a lot of writers online this past 6 months, it's interesting what percentage of writers are actually writing as a means of therapy of trying to understand and cope with what they've gone through. I would say of like the beginner writers that I've seen out there, I would say easily a good probably like 20 to 30% are writing just as a means of therapy. Like they tell themselves, yeah, I'm going to put it out. I want to share it to the world because of course, we're influenced by social media and our culture. But I think a lot of the times that like 20 to 30% is really just writing because they experience something horrible. And the only way we can express it is through our words, through our mind. That's incredible. I also think such streams are helping us to be a better writer. Like yesterday, I stayed awake the whole night to finish the book, and today, waiting for stream to show off. Oh, that's awesome, Marta. Thanks so much for sharing that. I really appreciate that. It's I think that that further validates, right, the value that we can get from having an online community, right? Because it's when writing itself can feel like an isolating process at times. Usually, when we're dealing with writing problems, obstacles, and things that are really like pushing us, maybe it's a result of like a lack of skill, or maybe it's a lack of motivation. And that's probably further made worse by life circumstances. When we're able to connect with other writers, like, it literally makes all the difference, and especially if we live in a type of world where maybe we're not good in person, maybe we're not good, like, maybe we have a lot of social anxiety, or maybe we're, like, don't have the time to go research, find out, and then go to a writers group. I think these types of online communities are really great resources. And I know if there was one thing that I wanted to create when I kind of started this idea was creating this kind of like online writing group for writers that we can all resonate with on the journey. I hope to make the writing experience feel a little less isolating when the struggle gets real. So thank you so much for sharing that, Marta. That's really sweet. Let's see. So what are some other things? As I think about like other obstacles, or even as I think about like obstacles that I've dealt with, um, I I think at least during this like year, this process of Kauffman Writes, I think the hardest thing for me, at least as it pertains to writing, has been trying to balance all the things that I'm doing to like run and start this creative writing business, and then having to reset my mind on days where I'm like not where I'm kind of like focused on other things and reset my mind to this live stream experience. And it's been such an interesting journey. It's been pretty incredible, in all honesty. I want to say I'm now pushing 115 days, probably 116, 117. So I've been pushing quite a number of days of writing consistently every day since January 1st, 2024. And I think even of the days where I'm not motivated or where I'm focused on elsewhere, I still end up feeling proud at the end of it that I just wrote and that I showed up. And I think this is a really great moment actually for me to thank each of you. I really appreciate each of you showing up because you guys help me stay accountable and help me stay motivated, especially as I'm working on like Last Scarecrow. Even though I love this story, we all deal with the same struggles and obstacles of writer's block. So I think writer's block is less the thing for me right now, and it's more like being in like the right mindset. I'm probably at that point where I can write in any mindset, but being able to write and keep myself like um anchored in like the fun aspect of it, which I wholeheartedly believe in. So yeah, thank you. Let's see. John, so yeah, this is a great question. I want to make sure that it was geared towards me. Yeah, so John, with me to clarify, so I have one writing business, right? So I have one writing business. It's called the Creative Ghost LLC. And essentially I created it as a means to help drive and help show my passion for creative writing around the world. I think creative writing as a subject is a little fractured sometimes. There's a lot of, I think, misconception around what creative writing is. I don't think there necessarily needs to be one go to definition of it. But I find what's really interesting, I'm on a learning journey right now. Creative writing as a skill seems to be one of the most sought after arts or arts interests for students who are going to the universities and who are going to college. Yet, post college, creative writing is just kind of like this discombobulated concept. I'm continuing to learn what the need is, and I 100% believe that I'm going to have the capability one day to redefine creative writing as an industry. Right now, the services I offer is geared towards helping individual writers between book editing, one-on-one coaching, and then I also do ghostwriting as well. So those are generally the three types of services that I offer, all branched under my company, The Creative Ghost LLC. So it's super exciting. I always enjoy it. And then it's like these other things, like what I do for YouTube and what I do for the like these live streams. They're not technically part of the Creative Ghost. They're technically my own thing. Maybe I could think of it more as building like my social presence and just kind of putting myself out there with my beliefs and like my writing capability and trying to help other creative writers. So that way I can also understand what the real need is for people. So that's kind of where I'm at. And then like Last Scarecrow, the book I'm working on it for myself. But since I've like shared most of the journey with you, with each of you, I'm still figuring out like what's the right direction for it in the future. Is it something where like I publish and I do it as my own thing under Kauffman, something I do under my company's name, do the Creative Ghost? I'm not sure yet. Still something I'm playing around with. Absolutely. Let's see, aren't you stressed to make a stream like this? You know what? Not really actually. It's ever since I was young, I've always loved being in the spotlight. I did a lot of theater when I was younger. I've done public speaking. I've just always loved being around people. I think customer service and all my years with Starbucks, I'm good at talking with people. So for me, things on being on stream, being on camera, that stressor wasn't hard for me. And since I started my YouTube videos about 7 to 8 years ago with like my first round of Kaufman's Corner stuff, I overcame the initial hurdles of like being in front of a camera. When you're in front of a camera, essentially I talk to myself. All of your influencers, all the people you watch online, when they're in their own studio or they're in their own space, they're essentially talking to themselves to a webcam or a camera, right? And this is the same thing that every creator goes through, but you kind of have to learn what this experience is like and kind of break through that barrier of like, no, I'm communicating with each of you beyond just speaking through the camera. Thanks for asking that. Yeah, that's not something that stresses me out though. I think it's because I get energy from chatting with people. And like the more like you guys share, the more I'm like, okay, well, that's awesome. I feel like I've learned so much from people in this experience. If anything, I just get more motivated. I'm doing the right thing and it's fun. Wow, I wish I could be like that. I love people, but my anxiety disorders are fucking it up. Oh, trust me, I get it. I've dealt with extreme levels of anxiety and depression. But my anxiety doesn't revolve around social anxiety, as my anxieties are always related to health stuff. Depression is always related to family and relationship stuff. And it's not things that really affect like this creative part of me. And I've been very grateful that my creative side has always been a positive driving influence, even in my darkest of moments. But it took me a while to get here, right? It took me over 20 years to understand this about myself. And I think that's one of the beautiful things. If I was hit by a car tomorrow, I've done my absolute best to try to understand myself and minimize the amount of regret I'm going to live in this life. And see, I feel really proud of myself that I went back the writing. And since November 1st, I've been writing consistently every day. And it doesn't matter how much I write, as long as I write something. And I recently went back to reading and finally reading The Shining. First off, Stephanie, that is so amazing. I like that. That's incredible. I need to go back and check the audio and make sure that the clapping isn't too loud. But like that's absolutely incredible. The fact that you've been able to write consistently since November 1st, Like, that's amazing. That puts you so much farther ahead than so many other writers out there who are afraid to just get started, right? And I think obviously November 1st is NaNoWriMo. So like that's awesome that that was probably a start for you, whether that was connected or not. But I think what's important is that we're each on our own learning journey, right? We're each on our own writing journey. And sometimes we're at periods of life where we can write every day. Sometimes we're at periods of life where the struggle is real. And I think it's just being kind and being realistic with yourself, how much time you actually have to write each day. So that's absolutely incredible. Strength and passion. There's one thing I'm passionate about creative writing. That is the one thing I know I will always be passionate about. Whether or not my business is wildly successful or wildly a failure, that will never change. Oh man. Yeah, when I have like finances to invest, I'm going to get my first tattoo. And it'll be like a full-on writing tattoo. Well, I say first, I actually want one tattoo. I like don't need many. I just want one writing tattoo and I'll be good with that. Let's see. Let's see. So was that a roundabout way of saying that writing is not your main income? No, writing is absolutely my main income right now. All of the writing work I do is my main income. Absolutely. Thanks for asking. Um, I think as I've been learning what works and learning how to like market myself and then how to balance that with the gig work that I'm doing, it's trying to figure out like what's the right balance of like connecting with people and then what's the right balance of putting out my services because my writing, my business is my main source of income. I'm very grateful because I tried to do this once about 6, 7 years ago. I quit the day job, did it for about a year, and I was unsuccessful because I just wasn't able to balance it with my high level of bills. So this time when I quit the day job, I went about it in a completely different strategy. And so far it seems to be working, but I'm also trying different things. I'm probably that type of person who, whether or not I'm successful or not, I'm going to keep trying this until I find success because I want to. The one thing I know about myself is I will never be genuinely happy unless my 24/7, my main job, my main career revolves around what I'm passionate about. For a lot of people, that's not a necessity. But for me, I get I wouldn't say depressed is the right word, but I'm unhappy when I'm not when my main focus isn't my writing or it's not in some way, shape, or form influenced by creative writing and my need to connect with other writers. So yeah, thanks for asking. Absolutely. I think like when I think long term, there's like all these I know there's like so many other ways that I'll be able to like do multiple streams of income. And I know there's like always opportunities for like classes and doing like membership groups. There's always like I have my podcast, there's advertising, and there's all other ways that I know I can grow the business. But right now, starting out, my focus is primarily on client and one-on-one services because that's what's working really well right now. So, by the way, that's a great lead in. If you're needing a one-on-one coach, writing coach, or let's say your book is almost done with that draft, but before you publish it, you're like, you know what? Maybe it needs a good edit, so that way people will really engage with it. You should contact me because I offer both coaching and editing services. Let's see. Oh man, that is why I developed a sense of humor. It was the only thing that could throw off the anxiety, right? We always have to like find the thing that balances, the thing that works for us. Uh, aw, I really appreciate that. Yeah, writing is absolutely a necessity to me. I realized that about myself when I was really young, that if there was one thing that I wanted out of life, it was always to write. But I was very peculiar in that fact. I was like that rare child who knew that I wanted to go to school to be a writer. Now, the past 10 to 15 years has been me and understanding more the craft, understanding more about myself, and understanding what like type of things I want to do with writing. But absolutely. That's really sweet, Marta. That's really, really cool that you love making people laugh. I think being able to create positive emotions with people, especially when we live in a world where like the world's crazy, and especially with the state of the world. And I think when we can use our writing to inspire people, like that's what being a writer is all about. Like that's amazing. I love my day job, but I would love to write full time. I know eventually I will get there. You absolutely will, Stephanie. Like, especially with your consistency, like you will 100% get there. And I think the biggest thing that I've seen from other writers who've done it successfully is they're just clear on what their goal is and what that step by step is to get them out of the day job. I like 100% do not recommend what I did. I was really crazy in the way that I've gone about this part of my life because I just ejected from the day job completely because I'm like, this is just what I want to do. I'm taking a huge risk, 100% a gamble, a huge risk because I could fail, but that also kind of motivates me as well. So, but I don't recommend it, right? It's not everyone's even able to quit everything and go 100% in, right? I had to save up enough. I had to put myself in this position to be able to do it. I'm grateful that I had the opportunity. And if anything, it makes me realize that because I have the opportunity, I have to help other writers. So that's something else that further motivates me. And see, I noticed that as well. Since I started watching your streams, I started to feel one more aim daily, and it gives a sense of life. Yeah, that's amazing. That's absolutely incredible. Thank you for sharing that. Oh, that's so sweet. Oh, that's really sweet. Yeah, I think if there's as I think about like the process and the mindset, right? I think in doing all these daily live streams, whether or not you can be here every day, like that's besides the point. I think I'm designing. I'm trying to make these streams an experience where when you're not busy with life, you can come and join me and you can come and join us and you can be guaranteed to have good conversation with other writers, motivation to write your story. And then if you're dealing with specific obstacles or problems in your storytelling, you can come ask and we'll help you out. Absolutely. So that's really awesome. Thanks so much, you too. I really appreciate that. That's awesome. Let's see. I made the mistake of self-publishing my short stories instead of putting them in magazines and contests. And a lot of them don't publish self-published works. Yeah, I've actually seen that as well with online magazines. I won't make that mistake again. Yeah, and I think it also comes down to like what your goal is, right? Because I think there's when we're done with the story and we're ready to put it out, I think there's an avenue for publishing with a goal of whether you want to share with the world or whether you want to make money or whether you want to build up your portfolio. And then there's also an avenue for the magazine circuit. That's a whole nother thing. There's also an avenue for contests. And each of them have a different path. And I think it just comes down to what your goal is, right? If you're going a cheaper option, then probably self-publishing and probably generally doing magazines tends to be a little cheaper. But if you want more exposure, going traditional publishing houses or contests can give you a return on investment, but it depends on if it costs money to submit. And I think one of the great things, John, is that a lot of times we have to learn from from these experiences, right? We learn from the times that we make the mistakes. And we're like, all right, well, next time I'm going to do this differently. And by the way, John, speaking of magazines and short stories, the guests that I'm actually going to be having on for this Sunday's episode of the Creative Right Now podcast, actually runs an online magazine. So definitely make sure that you come and check out Sunday's podcast. It'll be super cool. We're going to be doing an interview similar to the way that I did the last one. The last Creative Right Now podcast turned out really great. And it was actually very ironic that the podcast picture like just showed up on the screen. I'm like, the world's telling me it's going to be a great episode. So yeah, definitely make sure you drop by the stream on Sunday, man. They have they have a really cool online magazine. So I'm like super looking forward to the episode. I'll probably be releasing the details either tomorrow or Saturday. We'll see. We'll get there. All right. So that is good. So that was some really great conversations. What do I want to do now? Oh, by the way, if you're during the stream, follow and subscribe. If you're not already following or subscribing, make sure you tap that button. I do these live streams every single day to help improve the writing experience. And then also, I come out with weekly writing videos and shorts to help give you that motivation you need and help you become a better writer. So, more to come. I usually launch them over the weekends. So, shorts will be starting tomorrow. Woo! And I'm actually kind of excited for the video I'm launching this weekend. This weekend's video should be pretty cool. I like just finished filming it. I'm like, all right, this will be a fun video, fun one. We should make a psychological streams. I know that'd be interesting, right? I'm sure like that's probably like a whole other topic of like, all right, what's the psychology of you could either do like understanding the psychology of a person to better understand as a character or understanding the psychology of characters, right? Especially like really popular characters. That'd actually be really interesting. That'd be a lot of fun, actually. It's a good idea. I'm gonna write that down. Thank you. All right. And let's see with that. So I'm pushing an hour and I have some other things to take care of. So I'm probably going to be calling it a stream for today because we had such a good conversation. I was like, I get so wrapped up when chatting with y'all. So I'm going to wrap up the stream and we'll be back tomorrow. Tomorrow for Character Fiction Friday. So tomorrow will be our character development workshop. Come join for tomorrow. And don't forget, like the stream on your way out. Let me know that you got value out of it. Must be time for another writing sprint, my friend. All right. And that is all that I got for you today. Thank you, each of you, for joining in the conversation. Atomic, Marta, John, Mommy Telly, Stephanie, you guys are awesome. Thanks for motivating me. I always like come out of these live streams feeling like incredibly amazing because you guys are fun to chat with. All right. That's all that I got for you today, writer friends. Don't forget, words are wind, but stories are forever. I'm Kauffman, and I'll catch you on the morrow.